Welcome to The Explainer. Today we are tracking a completely fascinating, literally lightning-fast biological journey right through your nervous system. We're going to follow a simple injury from the exact second it hits your skin all the way to the complex, overwhelming sensation you actually feel in your head. It's this highly intricate road trip straight through the core of our biology, and we're going to demystify the whole shebang, step by step. Okay, let's dive right in by looking at a universal mystery. I mean, we all do this, right? You bang your elbow or you smash your knee on a table, and what's your immediate instinct? You rub it. You just furiously rub the spot. We all do it almost entirely by reflex. But what is actually happening under the skin there? Well, the answer to that is hidden deep inside the biology of pain. And I promise you, by the end of this explainer, knowing the biological why is going to completely change how you view your body. But to really get this, we first need to draw a hard line between two things scientists treat very differently. We have to separate the raw, physical data from the actual experience. So on the left here, we have noception. This is just the pure, objective, technical, neurological signal firing off in your body. It's the raw data. But on the right, we have pain. And pain is the subjective, emotional story that your brain constructs out of that raw data. This is a huge distinction. Noception is the hardware data. But pain is the experience you actually feel. So here's the roadmap for our biological road trip today. 1. The alarm system. 2. The departure at the nociceptors. 3. The highway of nerve fibers. 4. The relay and the spinal cord. And 5. Brain interpretation and control. Starting off with Section 1, the alarm system. You know, it's absolutely crucial that we reframe how we think about this. Pain really gets a bad rap, but it isn't an enemy, and it's certainly not a punishment. It's an ultra-fast, perfectly designed survival reflex. It's the alarm that forces you to yank your hand away from a hot stove before you even consciously realize you're burning yourself. And look at this official scientific definition. Pain is both a sensory and an emotional experience. Those two words right there prove that our emotions are always tangled up in the physical sensation. It's never just cold, hard data. That emotional layer is exactly what makes pain so incredibly personal for every single one of us. Moving to Section 2, the departure, focusing on the nociceptors. Let's slow things way down and look at the exact starting point of our journey. We really want to detail this neurological path in clear steps, starting right at the departure. How does something as tiny as a paper cut launch such a massive alarm? Step 1, the physical injury occurs. But it's not just the mechanical damage that flips the switch. Step 2, those damaged cells immediately burst open and release this powerful chemical cocktail. Scientists literally call this the inflammatory soup. Sounds delightful, right? Then Step 3 are microscopic sentinels. These specialized nerve endings called nociceptors detect that soup. And here's the kicker. The soup doesn't just activate them, it makes them hypersensitive. This perfectly explains why an area you bruised yesterday still hurts today if you barely even graze it. Those sentinels are just on super high alert. All right, Section 3, the highway, or nerve fibers. So the signal has officially departed. Now it needs a transit network to travel up your body to the brain. But it's not just one generic road. This neurological highway actually has very specific lanes. First, you've got your A-beta fibers. These are thick, nicely insulated express routes that carry regular, non-painful touch information incredibly fast. Then you've got the A-delta fibers. These are thinner and slower, and they carry that initial, sharp blast of pain. And finally, the C fibers. These are the absolute slowest, basically uninsulated dirt roads that carry dull, throbbing pain. The way these different lanes work brilliantly illustrates something we've all noticed. It's why we experience pain in two totally distinct sequential waves. Say you stub your toe. Point 1. Bam! Immediately you get that sharp, super localized flash of agony. That's the A-delta fibers arriving at the brain. But then, point 2, a few agonizing seconds later, that sharp pain kind of fades into this deep, dull, throbbing ache that just spreads out. That is the exact moment those slower C fibers finally limp across the finish line. Which brings us to Section 4, the relay in the spinal cord. This relay in the spinal cord is a vital checkpoint to understand. The pain signal doesn't just shoot straight from your toe to your brain uninterrupted. It hits a major relay station governed by a really revolutionary concept called the gate control theory. Basically, this theory proves that pain is not just a direct, unstoppable line. The spinal cord has these neurological gates. If the gates are open, pain signals pass right through. But, and this is a real game changer, non-painful sensory input can actively filter or physically close these nerve gates, stopping the pain signal completely dead in its tracks. So, remember our question from the very beginning? Why do we rub a bumped knee? Here's your answer. Remember those super fast A-beta express lanes for touch and the slower lanes for pain? Well, when you smash your knee and start furiously rubbing it, you are flooding those fast A-beta express lanes with simple touch signals. Because they travel so much faster, they hit the spinal cord relay first, and when they get there, they activate a special inhibitory neuron that essentially slams the gate shut right in the face of the slower-moving pain signals coming up right behind them. You are literally, physically, blocking the pain from going any further. How cool is that? Finally, Section 5, Brain Interpretation and Control. Now, let's say the signal does make it past that spinal gate. It travels up through the thalamus and into the brain's cortex. But the brain isn't just a passive computer monitor displaying an error message. It actively constructs what we feel across 3 distinct layers. First, the factual layer. Where is the injury and how bad is it? Second, the emotional layer. How distressing or scary is this? And third, the cognitive layer. What lesson am I learning so I don't do this again? Because it's a multi-layered construction, your mood, your environment, and your past memories can actually make the exact same physical injury feel totally different depending on the day. But wait, here's the ultimate plot twist of human biology. The brain isn't just the final stop on the tour, it's an active moderator. We have what's called a descending control system. This means your brain can actually send its very own calm down orders back down the spinal cord to tell that gate we just talked about to close. And to execute those calm down orders, we use our own highly sophisticated internal pharmacy. Our bodies naturally produce endogenous opioids, which you probably just call endorphins. They act exactly like powerful painkillers like morphine, actively blocking the transmission of pain. We literally have at least 3 distinct specialized types of receptors in our bodies just waiting to catch these natural pain-killing chemicals. It's this beautifully evolved system built to help us manage our suffering. Which brings us to the end of the explainer, and I want to leave you with a really provocative question. We've watched the raw data depart from the nociceptors, zoom up the highway, pass the spinal gate, and get built into a real experience by the brain. But if pain is ultimately a complex construction of our own mind, heavily influenced by our emotions and our environment, what is our true untapped capacity to psychologically influence and manage our own physical pain? It's a pretty empowering thought to walk away with, isn't it? Thanks so much for joining me on this incredible biological journey today.